Hello everyone. Uh, this video that I am going to be putting together today is regarding my case with the state university system, and what I'm trying to do is I'm requesting that evidence for abiogenesis and macrospeciation be provided, tangible, observable, empirical evidence that we are able to use, derive in a lab, or observe in nature, and show how there is evidence to support the origin of naturalistic spawning life from non-life and mobility between points of life. So how that first simple cell can become all bacteria, protozoa, algae, fungi, plants, and animals. Both of those 2 points are required for evolution. And so what I have been doing is I was talking with my dean of science at my school, and he told me there was some talk about how this would be a change in curriculum all over the world, and not just at my school, which I agree. They teach evolution all over, and if it's wrong in one place, it's wrong everywhere and shouldn't be taught anywhere, not in science, if you don't have evidence. So I've been asking basically my dean of science for evidence. Asking a scientist for evidence should not be an issue. And so I've been asking him for evidence, and he said that he talked to some professors or some people on the chair for math and science and said that there's no need. And basically I've received 2 documents in my requesting of evidence. I've received a PDF for the Urey Miller experiments, and I've received a statement from the National Association of Biology Teachers on evolution. And so I want to go over these 2 things. He told me that he thoroughly had helped me when I still have no evidence, and so right now I currently have someone trying to help me. They're the one and only investigator for the whole state, is trying to help me get evidence that can't kind of be dodged around, because I was basically told that I was thoroughly helped without actually receiving what I was requesting. And I also think normally the person who has the grievance is the one that states once they've been helped, not the other way around. So we're going to first go over this National Association of Biology Teachers position statement on teaching evolution. This is what I had received from my dean, or have received from my dean. So the National Association of Biology Teachers position statement on teaching evolution. Nothing in biology makes sense except in the light of evolution, is Theodosius Dobzhansky's declaration that accurately and succinctly reflects the central unifying role of evolution in the science of biology. The statement explains that evolution provides the scientific framework that explains both the history of life and the continuing change in the populations of organisms in response to environmental challenges. The teaching of evolution is a necessary foundational framework for understanding our natural world. Evolution is not a controversial topic in the scientific community. Evolution explains the unity and diversity of life past and present. Scientific data overwhelmingly supports the theory of evolution. Scientific theories are supported by extensive evidence. The patterns of similarity and diversity in extant and fossil organisms, combined with evidence and explanations provided by molecular biology, developmental biology, systematics, and geology, provide extensive support for the theory that all living things share a common ancestor. Evolution is a necessary part of teaching biology in an effective, detailed, and scientifically and pedagogically authentic manner, and should be a major theme throughout the life science curriculum. Effective teachers of biology engage students in classroom discussion and laboratory investigation while incorporating best practices in student-centered teaching. They scaffold students' understanding of science practices to support the learning of core ideas of evolution and lead students to be able to describe evolutionary patterns and processes. As scientists, educators, and responsible advocates of scientific thinking, educators should accurately represent evolution. They should support science education by rejecting calls to the account for the history of life or describe the mechanisms of evolution by invoking any non-natural or supernatural notions, whether it be under the banner of creation science, scientific creationism, intelligent design, or similar designations. Such notions are outside the scope of science and do not adhere to the shared scientific standards governing the collection and interpreting of evidence, and should not be presented as part of the science curriculum. Educators should encourage the development of and support for standards, curricula, textbooks, and other instructional frameworks that prominently include evolution and its mechanisms, and that refrain from confusing non-scientific with scientific explanation in the science instruction. Biological evolution is neither controversial nor in need of critical analysis or special attention for any supposed strengths and weaknesses any more than any other scientific data. Idea. Any other scientific idea. Wow. Okay, so that was what I was sent, and so I'm gonna go over that here. So let's see. Nothing makes sense except in light of evolution. Statement explains that evolution provides framework that explains the history of life and continuing change through population of organisms. Is this definitive? No. Why? Because a creator could create how they could make the history of life, could make the beginning, and the creator could use natural selection and allow for things to be able to adapt and survive. This is not something that anyone disputes. So, but this is not solely claimed by evolution, so this has no business being here. Teaching evolution is a necessary foundational framework. It's not a controversial topic. I agree about that, because people go through the academic system learning evolution and you can't question it. It says right down here that you're not supposed to, it's not in need of critical analysis. You should always be able to ask questions and think critically in science. It's part of what science is. A big part of science is asking questions. Typically, when you go through the scientific method of forming a hypothesis, which is what evolution is because it has no evidence, if you form a hypothesis, then you experiment, you observe what happens, and you reach conclusions. And typically, you're going to have more questions once you reach a conclusion. And these are repeatable experiments, by the way. That's a big thing to note. So asking questions is a big thing. But okay, so it's not controversial. Explains the unity of diversity of life past and present. So can creation. Creation can explain this as well. God making each kind, causing things to be where they are. God can explain all of this. Scientific data overwhelmingly supports the theory of evolution. So where's that evidence? I've been asking for simple evidence. If it's the unifying foundational framework, scientific framework, that is for this field, then why can't I be shown evidence for it when asking my dean of science? Theories are supported by extensive evidence, which I get none of. Let's see. Fossils can be explained by flood, hydrological sorting. combined with evidence provided by molecular biology. So like genetics, well, if you have the same genetics as others, that proves that all humans are human, we're all equally made. We share common genes with other life forms. That can imply a common designer, so it's not definitive evidence for evolution. Developmental biology, if this is talking about embryology and stuff, then ontogeny does not recapitulate phylogeny. Ernest Haeckel's drawings were admitted fraudulent. Geology, this all can be covered with a young Earth. I mean, all living things share a common ancestor. That's belief. You believe all things share a common ancestor. That's why you need the evidence. You need to show that the monkeys of now and the humans of now had that common ancestor back in the day. That was probably more monkey-like, but now here we are, advanced monkeys and other advanced primates. Where's the evidence? Evolution is part of the teaching of biology. Is needed. You need to teach it. That's what they say. Engage students in this laboratory. Okay, so where in the lab can you create abiogenesis? And your best example of speciation, your best chance is Richard Lenski's bacteria experiment, which I covered last video, which is the Richard Lenski was the one who did bacteria. He's bred 70,000 generations of bacteria, and the E. coli long-term evolution experiment. Even in here, though, it says they're still generations of bacteria. They're still bacteria. So that's not a bacteria becoming a worm. So, let's see. So the laboratory thing, show abiogenesis. That's what we're going to go over, the Urey-Miller. But this is the Urey-Miller right here, is these chemicals. None of these, I've asked chemistry professors about this, biology professors about this. Carbon, not alive. Oxygen, not alive. Hydrogen, not alive. Nitrogen, not alive. None of these things are alive. So if you arrange them, it doesn't matter how they're arranged, they're not alive. Amino acids and proteins are not alive, just like carbohydrates and lipids. They are used by life, but they are not life. So I don't care if you make 20 essential amino acids, I don't care if you make 1,000,000 amino acids. It's not alive, and it doesn't matter what I care about, what I believe. If anyone makes protein, they're not making life, regardless of belief. Life is different from chemicals, from elements. So this is about evolution, and it's almost like they know that the counter to evolution is creation. And so what do they do here? They say, don't invoke for any reason supernatural notions. Don't talk about, well, and hold on, I should say here, I agree with science is about nature. So talking about supernatural shouldn't be in science class. You shouldn't be an advocate of replacing evolution with creation. Just don't talk about origin, because science has no business talking about origin. No one can validate what the origin is. Whether you believe the origin is the Bible, whether you believe that the origin is evolution, whether you believe that we're on the back of a turtle, it doesn't belong in science, the origin of how things are, because we don't know. And it's not like, the thing is too, is if you say, well, we believe it could have happened naturalistically from abiogenesis and the Big Bang and everything, okay, you have to give equal time then to the Bible, to all books, to the Quran, to the Bhagavad Gita, to Hindu, all would have to have a claim. So just don't talk about it in science. But they do say don't mention creation, scientific creationism, intelligent design. And I think for anyone that wants to try to get evolution taken out of science, because we know it's a fraudulent religion that destroys the integrity and the unique specialty of people, don't argue that creation be taught in place. Just say, keep science science. Keep science in the classroom. The guy that I have helping me out with this, the investigator, he said that most people that try to get evolution taken out of the curriculum say replace it with creation. So he actually noted, he was like, that's something that you're not trying to put creation into the classroom. And the thing is if we're able to remove evolution, that will show people that the Bible is true. That's a big, they need evolution. The liars of this world need evolution. So, and then down here we have educators should encourage development standards for curricula, so keep promoting that we teach evolution prominently. Don't confuse non-scientific with scientific. Here's it's not controversial. Well, there are a lot of people that question evolution, so it is controversial. It's not like if you turn a wired light switch on, is the light not going to turn on? Is water not wet? And I don't, what is wet? I'm saying, like, is water H2O? That's not controversial. So, and here's the thing, not in need of critical analysis. If you do anything and it's true in science, you should be able to be criticized and let the data and the results of the experiment speak for themselves. Yeah, you should always be able to critically analyze anything for strengths and weaknesses. And if you have strengths, they're going to take over and refute anyone being critical. And if you have weaknesses, then the critical analysis exposes the weaknesses and you're able to strengthen them or work on them or disregard the theory if it doesn't work. So this was what I got, and then the other thing he sent me was a PDF. I know this is a Wikipedia, but I was sent a PDF of pretty much this. But this is a chemistry experiment. This is not life. I'll be kind of short about this, but when you have this type of stuff, they mention here the lightning, which is biblical, but in terms of nature creating, this is the life-giving force right here, is lightning. So I thought God was the life. I believe God is the life-giving force personally, but this is right here, the chemistry of the experiment. This is all this stuff. Even when they try to do other experiments and stuff, it's all elemental. It's all, how do you know the Earth's early atmosphere? It's all assumptions. It's all misinformation. It's sleight of hand. It's the way they do this stuff. This is all chemistry, not biology. Abiogenesis is something that is huge to not have. You need a start. And even intelligently, we can't get abiogenesis. So it's supposed to happen naturalistically and blindly with no reason. And here's the other thing too. They say, some people will say the origin of species evolution does not talk about the start, the origin, where life came from. And that's what origin means, is the start. And this is just a hunch, but if they were able to recreate life out of nothing, out of chemicals, if they were able to create abiogenesis, I would be willing to guarantee they would put that at the very front of every single science textbook. This is where we created life from rock, to validate it. They would put it right at the beginning because it is the beginning of their hypothesis. And this is one thing too that I want to say that I think is really important. If you are discussing with someone who believes in evolution, or you're trying to explain the Bible or something, or you're just trying to make a remark, don't say, well, remember, evolution is just a theory, because here's the thing. In science, if a scientist hears you say that and they're an atheist, they're going to smirk and snicker because they're going to say, oh, you just called evolution a theory. In science, a theory is supported by a body of evidence. You have a lot of evidence backing a theory. And so when you say evolution is just a theory, that's saying evolution just has a bunch of evidence supporting it, which it doesn't. What you want to say is evolution is a hypothesis. It is an idea. I know in day-to-day non-scientific terminology, theory is an idea, but in science it's different. So you want to say it's a hypothesis, of the hypothesis of evolution, because that's what it is. It's an idea, and when we test for it, we don't get it. We don't get evolution. You don't have abiogenesis. You don't have macrospeciation through bacteria always being bacteria, and even the people that admit themselves that things always stay the same. It's admitted through unless you are talking about punctuated equilibrium, which is an evolution idea that things rapidly change right away. That they don't. What we're taught is gradualistic evolution, and that is admitted that we can't observe it because it happens outside of our lifetime. And even trying to expand, relatively speaking, expand our lifetime to observe evolution over multiple generations, it is not done. It can't be done. These are always bacteria. These are always bacteria. 73,000 bacteria generations. 73,000 generations of bacteria. They're still bacteria. These are still chemicals. This is preposterous. This was what I was given. This is not even an attempt at evidence. This is why they must teach evolution. So this is what I wanted to cover today. Thank you for giving me your time. If you want to add anything, feel free. I love discussion. I love communicating. Please let me know. Any critique or anything. If I'm misinterpreting anything, if you want to help me sharpen my iron, so to speak, please do. Just please be respectful to one another and civil. Let's actually progress. We don't need any of that nonsense. So thank you for your time, and God be with you.